Have you noticed that your damage sucks? Well, in actuality, it actually does. So today I'm going to tell you guys many different ways to increase that, and in order to fix that for later down the line in further content in Zenless Zone Zero. Hello guys, my name is Mr. Ocean, and today we're going to just get started, and we're going to just start with number one. So for number one, the reason why your damage sucks so far is because you got to level up your character. And leveling up your character is essential in Zenless Zone Zero because over time you are gradually going to be facing harder and harder enemies that are of higher level. So increasing your level alone will increase your HP, your defense, and your flat base attack. And doing that will increase your damage overall, but it's not the biggest thing when it comes to it because there are other factors about it. And so the next thing that we're going to be talking about is your level skill enchantments. And your level skill enchantments is essentially your EQs, basically your skills and your ultimates and your base attacks and everything else when it comes to that. Increasing that essentially increases the multiplier percentage that it's stacking of. So of base attack, you're increasing essentially what percentage of hits it does per first, second, third, fourth, continuing on of hits, as well for your dodge attacks when you're dodging and you do a counter attack. Same thing for blocks and others such as your EQ skills and your ultimates. It's basically going to increase the multiplier of that overall, as well as your core skill. Your core skill for each character is essential because what you're essentially doing is increasing the crit damage or increasing whatever stat specifically is set for that character, and you're increasing that percentage over time. So you might start off at 33% for your first core and end up being at around 90 something percent. And also it will give you additional passives as well, including like things like base attack and crit rate. Another thing you're going to want to take a look at is your W engines. W engines are important and they're essentially your weapon within Zenless Zone Zero. And what W engines will do is they will increase your certain abilities depending on certain things. So a W engine might essentially increase your attack by a certain percentage, or they might increase the specific type of damage that you do. That could be either physical, ether, ice, or fire, depending on which archetype the character is. And they can do other passives as well as when they're on off field or on field. Some can provide things for energy recharge or for max health. It all depends on which weapon you get, but it also depends because there's different types of characters in the game. So far there are attackers, stuns, defense, support, and anomalies. So out of those five, there are different weapons catered to those specific archetypes. And it depends on which character you get. It also determines on what kind of weapon you're going to use because of what they prioritize more of. So if I were to use Ellen, I would want something to help me with my attack. If I needed somebody with stun, there might be something that needs to help me with impact or anything else. Another thing you're going to want to take a look at is your disc drives. And so your disc drives are essentially artifacts similar to Genshin Impact. And these things will be beneficial depending on what type of style you're wanting to go for with your character. I know there's sometimes optimal, sets and everything, but I want to, let you guys know you guys can play this however you'd like. And it just all depends on how you're using the character. I know sometimes they'll hinder it, so there's a lot more I need to understand and look through this. But for the most part, they will increase your damage, and you most likely would want to go for the things that are more prioritized within the characters you have. So if your character prioritizes in a certain set of skill, you would want to try to work around and get the certain disc drives that cater towards your character, and that will drastically improve your character's performance overall. But the other thing I need to let you guys know is that when it comes to it, there are a 2 set and a 4 set. So once you get your disc drives, there will be an active 2 set that you have. So if you have 2 of that same disc drive, it will give you a benefit or a little passive, as well as a 4 set, which will also give you an added on passive to the first set. So you'll have a 2 passive set along with the 4 passive set. And since there's 6 in total, you can be able to have either a pair of 4 and then 2, but you can also do 3 sets of 2 pairs. And so take however you want with that, make whatever you want with that with your builds, and that will drastically improve your damage and improve your outcome with your character's performance. Another thing you're going to want to take into account is the additional ability passives. So the ability passives will be when you enter combat. So once you start the level and you have to select which characters you want, there will be certain passives that will be on top of your right corner. It will be a smiley face or a frown face. It's all depending on the mixture of your characters that you will have for your team comp. So say for instance that all your team members are within the same faction or have within the same archetype, then essentially that will make the passive be better, and it will give each individual character a set passive and a set buff for that scenario of when they're in battle. Something else that you want to take in consideration version, and it will be not character, but it'll be beneficial for just overall doing damage, and that will be getting your Bangboos. Bangboos are also important because they're your support characters on the sideline being able to do damage in certain increments of time. So you can get multiple Bangboos. There's different Bangboos that have certain sets and skills. Some do elemental damage and some will just right out do physical damage or some sort of bonus damage towards the enemy. So it is important that you look at your Bangboos and choose which one that you want to roll with your certain comp, because I believe from what I remember, you can actually coordinate it with the actual factions as well, and they have their signature Bangboo. The next one may sound a little cliche and a little simple, you know, but this is also an important thing. You need to take in consideration of your enemy weaknesses, or the recommended attributes that is going to be recommended when you're facing certain enemies within Zenlesszonezero. And so say for instance, I have an ethereal, their weaknesses is ether and ice. I would want to bring a character that casts ice and a character that casts ether, because their weaknesses will be very, very crucial, because when it comes to that enemy type, their defense is little lowered when it comes to those two elemental types rather than every other type. So you have to make sure and look at the recommended attributes to see which characters you need to bring on the field. And it's very important to try to have each of your characters of different elemental types leveled so that you can be aware and you can make sure you have well enough characters in order to do the damage that you need to do. A last bonus that I wanted to add for you guys will be the general chop ramen, because general chop ramen is gonna increase your damage depending on your situation, and essentially they will be used for 3 combat encounters. So say for instance, I want to increase ether damage, or I want to increase my crit rate, or any other thing that I want to increase, I can do that with the ramen shop. And I think it's very important to go get it as soon as possible every time you have a counter, and if you run out, you could just buy it again, and it's just essentially more free damage for you, and it will benefit you in the long run overall, and that's a beneficial thing. So I hope with knowing these things of increasing your damage will help you now in Zenlesszonezero of encountering certain enemies or doing the certain content when it comes to combat. And so hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Again, my name is Mr. Ocean, and if you guys want to hear any more videos or any more specific questions that you guys have of Zenlesszonezero, I will be here, and so I will see you guys later.